Hey guys, today I'm gonna read Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Might have heard about is made by Oliver Bowden. So here's the back. So I'll read the summary first. I was spellbound by the hooded man at work, mesmerized by this agent of death, who had ignored the carnage around him by biding his time and waiting to strike. It sort of reminds me of a cheetah. It is the golden age of piracy and the new world beckons. Edward Kenway, the brash young son of a wool merchant who dreams of gold, cannot resist the lure of life of glory on the high seas. When his family homestead is attacked there seems like no better time to escape, and Kenway soon established himself as one of the deadliest privateers of his day. But greed, ambition, and betrayal follow closely in his wake, and when evidence of a crippling conspiracy begins to surface, threatening to destroy everything that he holds dear, Kenway cannot resist the urge of retribution, and so he is drawn to the centuries of old battle between the assassins and the Templars. So, we'll read like one chapter. So, part one, there's no chapter name, just gonna check. It's around 4 pages. So each video will be one chapter. I cut off a man's nose once. I don't, I don't, sorry. I don't recall exactly when it was, 1719 or thereabouts, nor where. But it happened during a raid on the Spanish brig. We wanted her supplies, of course. I pride myself of keeping the Jackdaw well stocked, but there was something else on board too, something we didn't have but needed. Someone, to be precise, a ship's cook. Our own ship's cook and his mate were both dead. Cook's mate had been caught pissing in a ballast, which I didn't allow, so punished the traditional way by making her a mug of the crew's piss. I must admit, I never had it happen before where the mugger punishment piss actually killed the man, but that's what happened with the cook's mate. He drank the mud of piss, went to sleep that night, and never got up. Cook was all right by himself for a time, but he did like a nip of rum, and after a nip of rum was apt to take the night air on the poop deck. I'd hear him clomping about on the roof of my cabin, dancing a jig, until one night I heard him clomping about on the roof of my cabin, a dancing jig, followed by a scream and a splash. The bell rang and the crew rushed to the deck where we dropped our anchor and lit lanterns and torches, but Cook there was no sign. There were lads working with them, of course, but they were just boys. None of them knew how to do anything more culinary minded than stir the pot or peel some spuds. And we'd be living in a raw grub ever, since not a man among us knew how to do much as boil a pot of water. Now not long back when you'd taken a man of war, a tasty little extrusion which we bagged ourselves up, ran a spanking new broadside battery and a hold full of artillery, cutlasses, pikes, muskets, pistols, powder, and shot. From one of the captured crew, who then became one of my crew, I learned that Dons had a particular supply in the ship which served a specially adept cook. Word was that he'd cooked at court but offended the Queen and been banished. I didn't believe the word of that, but it didn't stop me from repeating, telling the crew that we had him preparing our meals before the week was out. Sure enough, we made it our business to hunt down the particular brig, and when we found it, no time in attacking it. Our new broadside battery came in handy. We drew up alongside and peppered a brig with shot till broke, the canvas in tatters and the helm splintered in the water. She was already listing as my crew lashed and boarded her, skulking over her sides like rats, the air heavy with the stink of powder, the sound of muskets popping and cutlasses already beginning to rattle. I was among them as always, cutlass in one hand and my hidden blade engaged, the cutlass for melee work, the blade for close finishing. Two of them came at me and I made short of the first, diving my cutlass into the top of his head and slicing his tricorn in half as blade cleaved his head amongst in two. He went to his knees with the blade of my sword between his eyes, but the problem was driven in too deep, and when I tried to wrench his free out of his writhing body came with it. Now for the second man was upon me, terror in his eyes, not used to fighting. Obviously with a flick of a blade I sliced off his nose, which had the desired effect of sending him back with blood spraying from the hole where his beak had been, while I used two hands to finally wrench my cutlass out of the skull of the first attacker, and continue a good fight. It was soon over with as few of the crew dead as possible, having been given out special instructions that no one account was the cook to be harmed. Whatever happened, I said, we had to take the cook alive. As their brig disappeared beneath the water, we sailed away, leaving a fog of powder, smoke, and a sea of splintered hull and bobbling bits of broken ship behind us. We gathered the crew on the main deck to flush out the cook, hardly a man among us salivating, his belly not rumbling, and well-fed look of their crew not lost on us, not at all. It was Coraline who taught me how to appreciate good food. Coraline, my one true love. In all too brief time we spent together, she refined my palate, and I like to think that she had approved for my policy towards the repast and how I passed on a love of the finer things to the crew, knowing as I did I partly do what she'd show me, and a well-fed man is a happy man, and a happy man is the less prone to question of the authority, which is why all those years at sea I have not one sniff of mutiny. For one, here I am, he said, stepping forward, except sounded more like "Be-I bam," owing his bandaged face where some fool had cut off his nose. That's the end of chapter 1. Next video, I will do chapter 2, which is about 6 pages long. And thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to my channel.